Next question for the panelists. What single thing has had the greatest impact on the success of your operation? We'll start first with Tom.
Once again, I think the most important thing we have is we now have a sanctioned and formal relationship with the business. We go through what we call a governance process at Progressive, where anything that's presented as a project, regardless of size, has to go in front of both the business and IT and be approved to move forward. So there's not only the project comes in and you got to get it done for the business as best as you can, but the business has responsibility also. They're saying, if I put this particular buck slip or solution or pamphlet in, I'm committed that this is going to equal this much of a lift within my organization. And if the business does not reach that lift after 6 months or some predetermined amount of time, that project is pulled, and we go down to the next thing. So it's a matter of a mutual relationship where you truly have to depend on each other. Another thing is to make sure you're leveraging all of your resources. And by that, I mean not just your technology, you leverage your people. You've got a lot of talented people out there. Make sure you're having them do what they do best. One of the projects that we took over from Creative Services that we came into the IT side was we run a RESOL project. Resolicitation is where we go out to an insured and we give them a quote. If we don't get that business, 6 months later, we resolicit them for their business once again. After 6 months, it's when the renewal comes up. When it was in the creative side, they took cut sheet Xerox printers on a pre-printed form, took it over to a folder, did it manually, took it over to a small inserter, inserted it, sent it over to a sorting machine, 64-bin or whatever it was, and then they sent it out to our Cold-Cal partner. Looked at that from the ICT perspective. We took the file in up front. We did address cleansing on it. We pre-sorted it ahead of time. We put it on a roll-to-roll printer on a pre-printed form. Took it over to our current inserters, inserted it already in pre-sorted order, and sent it right to the Cold-Cal. We took a project that took 3 to 4 weeks on an average and knocked it down to 2 to 3 days. So once again, it's a matter of just relying and listen to everybody and make sure you're doing things the best you can with all the resources you have available to you.
So would we sum that up as listening?
Listening and thinking. Make sure you're thinking.
Great. Boss.
So what single thing had the most impact? I think it's, if I look at it from my perspective, the biggest impact has been partnering with procurement. Historically, in PANS and procurement never see eye to eye, and they control the purse strings. That's the institution, so if you can line up your resources with procurement, where procurement thinks you are actually, you have something to add and you're not a vendor. The problem is, what I found when I went to Penn State is that they considered the print services just another vendor, like an external vendor. So whatever the external vendor got, the internal, we treated the same. So if a bid went out, we got a copy of the bid. That doesn't make a whole sense. The whole point of being an internal vendor is to validate and be a cross-check against the external companies. And if you're just being lumped into with the external companies, you basically eliminate the whole reason to have an implant in the first place. So the first probably couple of years were just spent in developing that and actually nourishing that relationship with procurement where we have implicit trust. They know that we're going to follow the rules, but we are going to do the right thing, and they know that when it's beneficial to us, we will keep the work. Out of that emerged some very creative partnerships. So example, we have a first right of refusal, but it's not a traditional first right of refusal as most people think. Our first right of refusal is that we get to see everything. The customer still decides whether they want to use us. Means they can come back and say, no, we really want to send it outside, and that's okay, but we really get to see that way. We get to position for the future and see exactly what's happening in the marketplace and advise them, this is a good idea or the specs are right, but the call remains with the customer. Over time, what that has happened is that most of the customers end up using us because we developed that relationship. So, and another example of that was the whole fleet management project. Sitting with procurement, and once they understood what we did, they figured out that, hey, yeah, maybe we shouldn't be in the fleet management business, that it's best that the resources are lined up. And our whole fleet management program, which is very, very successful. It is probably one of our strategic legs of our implant, has come from procurement support, because the customers still go to procurement if they want something, procurement just bounces them back to us. So the biggest thing I would say is that if you want to be successful as implant, is build those partnerships with procurement, with IT, because today IT is the other backbone, and we always have this kind of love-hate relationship. So the infrastructure and the background that keeps these big institutions moving. If you are aligned with them, you'll be successful. If you're on cross purposes, it'll just becomes a lot more difficult.
Thank you. Gary?
Okay, so I've got a couple of things that probably were our biggest successful thing. I got one of them that would take way too long, way over 2 minutes, and she'd be kicking me if I started getting into it. It's our self-service copier program, 20-second rundown. We had we're a very small school, so let me just enlighten you. We're a healthcare facility. We only have 2,500 students and 7,500 employees, and that's what we service. So our copier program that we had was all antiquated PIN systems, and we did a lot of things. So if anybody's interested, we automated the system. I went from 5 staff, 4.5 staff, down to 1 person. It took 2 weeks to bill. I do it in an hour now, all by putting in an IT management solution program. They can print, email, fax, scan, everything from the copiers, and we bill approximately $30K a month off this program with 50 copiers. It's a huge profit center to us. It cost me about $8 grand a month in copiers, and then the paper is roughly $1,500. So if you want more info, I can talk about that. The second thing that we did was we took a display operation, maybe doing large format printing. This is probably going to be your biggest key to changing what it is you do. You're a printer. If it hits a sheet, you're going to print it. So large format printing is a gold mine. We took a starving, it was dying. We do a tremendous amount of research posters and other things to provide these services to our students and our faculty and our researchers. So what we did was we started getting creative. How can we do this? We took an operation that had 2 employees, did about $4K a month in billing, and they thought that was fantastic. I dropped it down to 1 person, adjusted some equipment, and we averaged almost $14,000 a month in billing with 1 person. So the key to this is getting the right equipment, trying to find creative ways to do it. You do mounting, laminating, keep it all on campus. Don't let them go to Kinko's. We used to charge $75 for a 3-foot by 4-foot standard research poster that would fade in about a month because they were running the wrong paper with the incorrect inks. So we changed all of that. Now we charge $38 for the exact same thing. It is just, it's the biggest gold mine out there for any other areas. Let's be honest, 2 cents a copy, 15 cents for a color, that's not going to get you anywhere. You need a profit center that's going to help you buy the new equipment that you need. So be creative in what it is you do. Find something like large format that's going to bring in the dollars that'll help you fund your failing operations. This is the trick. The same thing with the copiers. I bring in an operation, I got 1 guy, I bill about 10, it costs me about 10, I make 20. So I take that in because I still need to offer print. I can't just let it go. So I take the excess funding and I help balance that department that can't really make it on its own because I can't give it up. Okay?
Great. And you said there was no secret.
Well, yes, but
Mike?
For us, about 6 years ago, we really ramped up our customer service team. So the state of Colorado has potentially about 35,000 classified employees, and each one represents a potential customer for us, from business cards, letterheads, et cetera, on up to more complex print jobs. So we had this customer service team that we built with 4 individuals, and their focus, each customer service group or team went in and had a project manager work with them to understand what it was that our agencies needed. And then we did hire this project manager who goes in there and, as was mentioned earlier, focused on the problem areas or the customers that 10 years ago that, we messed up that $25 print job and they will not send anything to us. And so we went in there and focused on what the problems were, but more so focused on providing a solution end to end. What is it that is your core job what is that agency's need, and then how can we support that? And we have found tremendous success. Our project manager, first project he did was with the Low Energy Assistance Program. And he went in there and we looked at what their biggest problems were. They had a budget of about $750,000 annually, and almost 50% of it was going into print and mail. And we looked at what it was that they were doing, what their core charge was, and then we started looking at what they did. They had their return mail rate, because of what the constituents they mailed to moved around a lot. Their return rate was over 60%. And so what we did was we looked at address quality and identified how we could increase their actual target market and make sure it got there. And then the first year that we did this program, we saved the program over $240,000 across the board, and that's print and postage. That's money that went right back into the budget to help low-income families in our state. That success story resonated through all the other agencies. And as soon as we were able to show them that we were here to provide solutions to them, we're not just a printer, we're not just the mail house, we're a solutions provider. And that success resonated and has carried us forward.